Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Welcome to the Sailing Show on Wisp Sports Radio, the monthly podcast that will steer and inspire you along your sailing journey.
3, 2, 1, and hold!
I'm Abby Ehler, a 3-time round-the-world racer. I've worked shoreside with the America's Cup and now with Sail GP. I'm the mother of one 7-year-old son and a director at the Magenta Project. I'll be chatting to a wide range of women within the sailing community, including Olympic champions, ocean racers, change makers, and up-and-coming champions. Whether you're aspiring to race around the world, compete at the Olympics, or just needing a spark of inspiration, the Sailing Show will have something for you. In this edition, Season 4, Episode 8 of the Sailing Show podcast, I'll be delving into the world of mentoring and looking at the benefits of such programmes, and in particular looking at the Magenta Project's pilot mentoring scheme, aiming to springboard mentees towards their sailing goals. My guests on this show include Kate-Mardel Ferreira, who has previously been a professional sailor and race yacht captain, and more recently working within the shoreside roles of the sport, who shares her experiences as a mentee in a business programme. My second guest is Vicky Ellis, who skippered the team Switzerland, one of the 12 entries in the Clipper race 2013-14. She led an international crew of amateur sailors from all walks of life on board a 70-foot ocean racing boat on an 11-month journey of a lifetime. Vicky is a director of the Magenta Project and instigator of the Magenta Mentoring Program. Kate has a wealth of experience in the management of sailing events, having worked for the RYA delivering international world-class events, including working for the 2012 London Olympics as the Sailing Services Manager, and most recently now working for the 1851 Trust, a charity aiming to inspire young people to pursue STEM subjects by harnessing the excitement of INEOS Team UK, the British sailing team, led by 4 times Olympic gold medalist Sir Ben Ainsley. Welcome, Kate.
Hello.
And thank you very much for joining me. I think I captured some of your career highlights, but
Absolutely.
maybe just give us a brief resume about yourself and really why the sport of sailing has captured you.
Sure. I mean, I guess going back before the stuff that you mentioned there, prior to that, in my 20s, I spent sort of 6 to 8 years in professional yachting and skippering boats for private individuals, and really that's where a lot of my sailing was done, and my experience and my racing, and that's what really sort of sparked the flame for sailing, and I've pretty much worked in sailing since then. I guess I started sailing with my dad, as most people do, that you start with your family because that's how you get introduced to the sport, because it's there's not always obvious ways in, but I've just got a massive love of sailing and the industry, and kind of can't imagine not working in it now.
Yeah, indeed, it is. I think it's a sport that really, it draws you in and wants you there.
Yeah,
it's not
glued to it.
You don't escape easily, which is not a bad thing.
Exactly.
So I really wanted to direct our conversation today around mentoring.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that you have used, I guess, through your career, being a mentee of programs.
Yes.
And now looking at the possibilities of becoming a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
It's been an interesting sort of to hear your progression in our previous conversations, and so I wanted to delve into that experience and ask you what you consider are the most important factors when it comes to a mentoring scheme.
Yeah, I mean, initially, just to say, I think that mentoring is phenomenal for people. I mean, it happens all the time, formally and informally, but to have a structure. So I think that what's important for a good mentoring program is the structure of it and how it's set up, and that the people who are setting it up kind of stay involved and support the process. But also, a bit like dating, it's the matching. A good matching. I've had I've been menteed a couple of times, and the first one was okay, but the second one was so much better, and it really helped me to understand why the first one maybe wasn't as successful, or I didn't get as much out of it as I got the second one. So I think it's the matching and finding what do you want and what can they give, and so making those links with the people, I think is really important.
Yeah, and through that experience, I mean, what advantages are there of a scheme, and what have you taken away from your time in a mentor program?
Yeah, so especially this recent one, I think it's really important for the individual who's being mentored to think about what they want from it. What do they want to get out of the process and the person that they're paired with? For their own goals, so be really clear about your goals. And we started working on leadership goals was my kind of focus with this recent one. And I'd started managing a team, and my team was growing, and my role in the organisation was changing. So I really wanted to focus on how I could be good at my role and develop my leadership skills. So having that clarity, and then just having someone who you have it was a monthly meeting, a regular connection with, and they sort of hold you to account for what you say you're going to do. And so you it's a bit like homework, you make sure you've done what you said you were going to do. And also that process of just sitting down with someone and talking things through, and they're just sort of actively listening to you and just giving you little probes, and you come up with the solutions yourself, but so we talked about different ways I could work with our team, and we were having a team day, and I ended up getting a facilitator in to support the day, because out of the conversations I'd had with my mentor, it became really clear that would really help us, the 1851 Trust team, if we got an external facilitator in and looked at a few areas of the organisation. And so I think it's just that process of bouncing ideas off someone. You come up with the things yourself, but having someone who's there for you to listen to you and give you little, they don't really give you advice, but just listen and ask the probing questions is really helpful.
It's kind of like a sounding board, I guess, and it gives you that someone, I guess your mentor is someone that you really has been there and trodden maybe that path before, and so
exactly.
They've perhaps made those mistakes and can learn from that and pass that on. So I think that's
exactly that.
It really is a vital kind of, almost like a springboard. It's giving you those ideas and advices because they've been there and they've perhaps done it, and
exactly.
It's almost like a fast track.
And that's why the matching is so important, because you want to find the synergies between the two people so that you can be helped.
Just touching on that having run a pilot scheme with the Magenta Project, the idea being we would match professional sailors or people of stature in the industry to help young girls coming up and really just struggling to find their way forward, or just to springboard them, as we said. And some of the teething issues have really been about the relationship. Location came up in our feedback about it was sometimes difficult in different time zones, and even the commitment. The commitment from the mentee. It's really important. It's there's so much to get out of this, but it's really got to be driven by the mentee, and that is sometimes difficult to harness that. But I'd say what you've touched on it, but what really does make a good mentor-mentee relationship, and what are the important factors? Is it location and having those face-to-face meetings, or what have you found from your experience?
So I think, location, face-to-face would be the ideal, but it's not always possible, and it's not mission critical. But if you can't have face-to-face, as in physical face-to-face, I think it's really important to have a face-to-face connection, so a virtual, through Skype or, FaceTime, or be able to see each other, even if that's not every time, but at least initially. So my first mentor was in kind of the Midwest in the States, and she didn't have Skype. And so the first few calls were literally a telephone call, and it's very hard to connect with just a voice, and you haven't seen a face, you don't even know what they look like. And so we eventually, on about the fifth kind of call, managed to get her set up with Skype. And but we'd gone quite a long way by then, and so with the next one, again, she She was in Birmingham. She's in Birmingham. So we don't. We've never met. We Skype every time, and it's just so much better. And so I think, like in my ideal world, even if for the kick-off meeting, if you could do a face-to-face, would be great. But if you can't make that work, so long as you can connect, make eye contact with each other, that I think is enough. And just have a regular, you put the time in the diary, and you commit to being there, and you don't flake, and you're prepared for your meeting. The key thing is, especially as the mentee, you're prepared, and you've thought about what you want to talk about, and as the mentor, they prepare too, and you kind of look back on what you discussed last time, and have you done what you thought, and where do you think you're at? And sometimes it shifts, the goals may shift, and you need to both be kind of flexible to do that as people's life changes. But I think the important thing is having a connection, eye contact connection, and the matching, making it a valuable connection for the two of you. So my first mentor, she was an HR director. She'd always worked in large corporations, and I've never worked in a large corporation, and I've had lots of different jobs in different organisations. And so we found it quite hard to relate to each other's situation, whereas the next woman has just been... She works for herself, and she's just a bit more used to that flexible living, flexible working arrangement. So that works a bit better for us. So I think making sure that the people will understand each other from many different angles is kind of important too.
Sometimes difficult, because what we've found is, you get an application and it's on a piece of paper, and it's sometimes very hard to gauge what is going to be a good match, and and I think, as you said, the important thing is outlining a goal of what is the mentee's goal, and from that it's a pointer towards perhaps the best person
absolutely
to match them with. And in terms of progressing through sailing, I mean, how do you see a mentor scheme assisting girls? I mean, there are plenty of barriers out there for progressing through the sport, and do you see the mentoring as a way of springboarding? I know you mentioned that if something had been available
absolutely
back when you were sailing professionally, you think it could have made a world of difference?
I think so. I mean, it has many functions, doesn't it, the mentoring sort of process, but part of it is sort of having someone there believing in you, and sort of fighting your corner, or you feel a fighting, so having someone that believes in you, because there's lots of informal mentoring that goes on all the time in life, and some people have more of it than others. As I said before, when I was running boats and we were doing lots of racing, and it was kind of 2001, 2002, and I was looking at the AMA Sports Volvo team and thinking, that is me. I want to do the next Volvo. And there was no women in the next couple of Volvos, at least, after that. And I sort of... I didn't really know where to go next, and I think if there had been a Magenta or a mentoring, program or something with a bit of structure around it, I would have jumped at it, for sure. So I think for women in sailing, it's massively valuable, because there's lots of women out there who have lots of different experience. I mean, I met someone last night who she doesn't work in the industry, but she works in business, and she does lots of sailing and knows the industry very well, and so she would be a great mentor for someone. It's just building connections will help people. There's no question about it. And everyone needs a bit of help.
Yeah, and I think sailing especially is a very small knit community, quite network driven, and so and networking is not. It doesn't come natural to some people, and it is unfortunately so important in our sport.
Exactly,
it's really about connections and nurturing those connections to get the next step, to get those rides on boats. And
if you don't have family or family friends kind of doing stuff, if you're a bit of a kind of the only one in your sphere, then you might not have all those connections or as many as others do, so having them a bit in a more structured way is it's got to help.
Well, that's great. Kate, thank you very much for sharing
Thank you.
those experiences. And I'm sure we'll be in touch.
I'm looking forward to the next next iteration of the Magenta Mentoring Program.
Okay, That's fantastic. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Abby.
Good luck with all of your work with 1851.
Thank you.
Wisp Sports Radio.
I'm joined by Vicky Ellis, who is one of the directors at the Magenta Project, and also someone who has brought about this idea of mentoring into the world of sailing through her experiences, and something that the Magenta Project has created to benefit the younger generation who are coming up in our sport and really looking for that springboard or that help. So Vicky, thank you very much for taking the time to join me today. Welcome.
My pleasure. Thank you, Abby.
So really, let's kick off with a bit of background about why the Magenta Project chose to run this mentoring scheme.
So the mentoring has been well known to be a vital component of accelerating women in their careers, both in business and industry, and also we're seeing more of it now in sport. Nothing like this exists in the sailing industry as a sort of formal scheme. So the plan with the Magenta Project was to launch this to help bridge the gap for all the female sailors out there that are looking to advance their sailing to the next step but need a hand. We know that women respond particularly well to role models, and that's one thing where mentoring can really, really help, linking these female sailors up with people that are going to inspire them and to help them to overcome those hurdles and the obstacles they've got in their sailing pathway. No sailing pathway, I know, is easy for anybody of any gender, but we know that particularly females respond really well to having role models and to having mentoring experiences. So we really want to try and enable that new and young and up-and-coming group of female sailors to succeed at the highest levels possible and give them the best chance of doing that. We need to get a mentoring scheme to allow them to knock over those hurdles, make those contacts and succeed on merit.
Well, sounds fantastic, and certainly the scheme has now wrapped up. It was kicked off in October of last year, and from memory there was quite a huge amount of people that applied for the scheme. So tell us a little bit about the type of people that applied.
Well, when we opened the doors last year for people to apply, we had no idea who was going to come, who was going to apply, and we were, as you say, bowled over by the response that we had, and we're amazed at how hungry and how necessary it felt for this program to be established and to be launched. But we really did start it out as let's see if this is going to work or if it's a good idea or not. We had applications. We set the cutoff limit at 18 years or older, and we had applications from every age between that and upwards. I think around 2/3, 3/4 of the people that applied were under the age of 25. So a huge amount of interest from younger people starting out in their careers, wanting to succeed at the highest levels. We were bowled over as well at the calibre of the applicants, their ambitions, and their sailing and their dedication and their commitment to the sport to date. It was humbling reading some of their applications, I must say. They came from all corners of the globe. Sailing is an international sport. So we had mentees applying from 12 different nationalities right across the globe, and all with different aspirations in mind. Now, in the sailing industry, we know that the dinghy world, there is a very equitable and forged career structure and pathway for those looking to compete in the dinghy classes. So we focused our energies on looking at the other areas of the sport where we know that there is a significant dropout of the number of female sailors and hurdles that are to be experienced. So we took sailors from what we called the transition category, which was those looking to move from the dinghy classes into keel boats. And we also took sailors from an inshore program and offshore program. So we looked at sailors that had been sailing on the inshore keelboat classes, competing in IRCs and various other classes, campaigns, or those that wanted to aspire to sail in those, and also in the offshore streams. So those sailors already sailing offshore, but that really wanted to succeed at the top levels in those areas of the sport. So those were the three main areas that we looked at allocating mentors to the mentees to really help them bridge those gaps, to keep the females in the sport and to keep them performing and achieving and delivering to the top.
That sounds fantastic. And as you said, it's really a sort of an untapped area and a very difficult area to progress, I'm sure, from both our careers. You understand how hard it is to get progress through the professional yachting world. So that's a great area to be targeting. And moving on to the mentors, I mean, how did you recruit them? Who are they?
So the mentors equally, we had 25 mentors that came from all corners of the sailing world, all in their own rights, very, very experienced and accomplished sailors. And I believe we had 28 laps of the planet or something like that shared amongst the 25 mentors. We had Olympic and dinghy sailors. We had world match racing champions. And we had sailors that had succeeded in every area of the sport. Mentoring. Some people applied directly to our website. Some people got in touch with the Magenta Project team. Some we approached when we found a when we found a mentee that we really wanted to match with them. So it was a real mixture. We had male mentors, female mentors. It didn't matter as long as they were keen and passionate about giving back to the next generation of young and up and coming and ambitious and hungry sailors. That was really what we were after, and we were not disappointed at all. We had some fantastic mentors who all worked incredibly hard and gave so much back to the young sailors we had on the pilot program, and we've had some tremendous feedback and responses from both sides.
So I wanted to expand on the wrap up. I mean, the initial pilot program of 6 months has wrapped up sort of early to middle of this year. So what were the main findings that came out of the program?
So the first year's pilot program was very much is this needed? Is there any appetite out there for it? Is it going to actually succeed? It's not an on the water training, get your kit on, get wet. It's a sitting down and looking at, how are you going to get from where you are today to where your goals are and where your dreams are. So we found that a lot of the time the mentors and the mentees were sitting down and they were looking at what the goals were. And what the reality of that is within the sailing industry, perhaps, and seeing how they were going to break those goals down into smaller steps and then go about achieving them, which were the contacts they needed to make those steps in the industry as well, too, what they needed to do in addition to their sailing aspirations that they needed to do in order to support the rest of their work and life, to be able to make these dreams come true. We found a lot of the time the mentors in the process of breaking down these goals and helping their mentees to sort of reflect on their careers and their aspirations and their journey. A lot of the mentors actually found themselves reflecting on their own journeys too. And we had some lovely comments back from the mentors saying, how inspiring it was to watch. I think it was Carolyn Breyer said, like a younger version of herself, going through the process. And many of them reflected on their own goals and aspirations too, as well. So I think, the mentors got an awful lot out of it as well. But yes, it was very much a case of looking at the hurdles and the obstacles that the sailors are going to face on their way to their ambitions and their dreams, and really helping that break down into realistic and manageable chunks, and then giving them the inspiration and the confidence to get out there and actually start doing it.
And were there some other examples, in terms of the feedback from the mentees, or some of the highlights or the successes of the program that you would want to share with us?
We had some fantastic anecdotes. We had a mentee and a mentor that found themselves actually racing on the same race against each other to the Azores and back, and the mentee beat the mentor by one place. We had another case in point. I guess, Abby, yours is probably the best one. Obviously, you've been kind enough to mentor on this program. And I know that your mentee, yourself, you competed in the Fastnet race on board the boat with, which I think is a fantastic opportunity for a young up-and-coming sailor to be able to get the opportunity to race with somebody like yourself on the Fastnet race, which I know was many of the mentees, especially in the offshore streams, ambitions for this year, and many of them achieved that as a result. So yes, we've had some direct hits like that. One lady as well too, one of our mentees was considering, the solo campaign. Obviously in the offshore stream, we've got people after the fully crewed races, we've got people after the solo races, so the ocean race, the Vendée, the Clipper, those sort of races they've got in their sights. And by the end of the mentoring scheme, the mentor and the mentee had decided that, they were going to go for the mini transat circuit, and the mentee managed to get herself a Figaro and headed off and has started on it, having thought at the beginning that she might not do it, and was she going to get the funds, etc., to purchase a boat. But no, in the space of the year it's all happened, and the mentor's really ecstatic and thrilled that her mentee is well on the way to her solo ambitions.
No, indeed, and just to go back to what you said about my relationship with my mentee, I think at the outset of the programme, when you approached me, Vicky, to become a mentor, it was a little daunting in the fact of, well, I'm not really sure what I have to offer, because I've never done that sort of thing before, and would really it doesn't come naturally to know how to help someone in that, in that environment. And as you said, it is predominantly a dry programme. It's not about coaching your mentee hands-on. But I think equally, it was great to be able to advise my mentee on how to progress, what she should be targeting in line with her goals, trying to expand her contact network and put her in touch with people who are equally minded and happy to see, people proceed. But also, I think I wanted to give back in the form of doing some sailing with her, just to be able to grasp where she's at. And luckily enough, I had the opportunity to do that on the boat I was competing on the Fastnet in. But it also then gives you that chance to gauge where they're at skill-wise, and to be able to advise further. So I think from that point of view, for any potential mentors listening out there, it's sometimes you may feel, well, I've never done anything like this before. I'm a sailor. I'm not really a mentor, or I think because mentoring generally gets related to the business industry and is not often seen in such a formal format in the sporting world. So it's been a great programme, and equally it's great to get feedback from your mentee that you have helped them, and perhaps you don't realise that you have.
Yes, we had a huge successful response back from the mentees. Often the mentor was unsure whether or not they'd been a great influence, and then when you read the mentees' feedback, you saw that actually they'd had a huge impact. So yes, I mean most of our mentors have never done anything like this before, and it's quite a daunting prospect. And we've, as part of the programme, that's our job, is to give them sort of support and help. But no, I mean, a desire to give back to the sport and to see young sailors achieve is what we're after. And the rest takes care of itself. The aim of this programme is to, really help those people, give them, the opportunity to be able to prove themselves and deliver and achieve on merit. And it will be really interesting to see where the alumni of these programmes end up. We've had some incredibly bright young stars coming through who are showing themselves to be ambitious, capable and determined above all else. And I suspect that in years to come, we will see these names at the top of the sport, delivering some really exciting and impressive sailing. So, whether they're making their names known at the top of the offshores or the inshores, or whether it's the ocean race or the America's Cup, or whether they're at the grassroots level and changing the sport for the better. I think that's where we'll find our mentees over the years to come. And I very much look forward to seeing where they all end up.
Well, and as you said, it was a pilot programme really to gauge on the appetite, and as we've experienced, it's been overwhelming. And so I believe the plan is to roll this out again for year 2. So tell us more about that.
Well, it's very exciting, and we've already had people contacting us asking if it's going to be run, when it's going to be run. So we know they're out there across the world looking to do it. We're going to be launching it on the 13th of August, which is Ladies' Day at Cows Week. So we're going to be there this year launching that. It is an international program, and we've had, like I said, mentees and mentors from across the world and across the nations. Running it for a slightly extended duration. We're going to be going for 9 months this time rather than 6 months, to give the sailors and their mentors an opportunity to often put things into practice. You're right, quite similar to yourself. Some of them have actually gone sailing this summer together with their mentees after spending the winter plotting and planning. Our Southern Hemisphere pairs have had the opportunity to sail over their summer, and now they're plotting and planning over their winter. So yes, we've extended it slightly. And we're above all looking to take this mentoring program to the next level. We want to be able to offer our mentors support, to be able to help them coach their mentees towards their goals. We want to be able to select the best mentees as well too, that are going to make the biggest impact to the sport. Not necessarily the those that are going to become the high potentials, but anybody that's going to be able to give back to the sport and develop and change the sport. And to do that, we're going to need some funds as well too. So we're currently excitingly looking for a sponsor for the program that's going to help us take us to the next level. We've seen the results that you can get from sponsored programs from the business world, etc. And now we know there's the appetite. Now we know that we've had successes. The sport of sailing really, really needs this to drive the issue forward. So that's our next great, exciting adventure.
And so for anyone listening that's keen to get involved, I believe they should just track us on our social media.
So the applications will be open from the 13th for both mentees and mentors as well too. They can email us directly at mentoring@themagentaproject.org. That's our email address. They can get hold of us for any queries or sponsorship or PR inquiries. We can take it all on that. And our website will be updated for the launch as well too after that. But no, follow us on all the usual social media channels.
Great, Vicky, thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure.
And we look forward to, like you said, to tracking all of our 2018 mentees as they progress, and look forward to welcoming a new batch of young and enthusiastic sailors for this second year of the programme.
Indeed, absolutely. It's exciting times for this sport, and I really hope that this mentoring program is going to be able to continue doing the success it has to date, and really helping to address the need for increasing the number of really highly talented, highly skilled, and highly committed women into the talent pool for all of the big races and all the big classes.
Vicky, thank you very much, and wishing you all the best.
My pleasure, Abby. Thanks very much.
Well, it's been fantastic to hear from Vicky Ellis about the uptake of the initial Magenta scheme and the calibre of the mentees who applied, and the prospect of where these sailors will be in the future is very exciting. It's also great to hear that the programme will run again and applications are now open for the 2019 intake. I would also like to mention that a huge thank you must go out to the mentors who supported and took part in the scheme. The feedback from the mentees has been overwhelming, and as Vicky said, it's been extremely positive, and we really would invite any budding mentors to get in touch with regards to the upcoming programme. So to summarise this mentoring episode, I found a fitting quote which comes from a friend and a fellow sailor, Clark Murphy, who heads up Russell Reynolds, the executive recruitment firm, with regards to mentoring. Clark said, whether it's sport, business, politics, science, or many other fields, achieving gender equality can be supported through providing visible examples of those who inspire the next generation of female leaders. In sailing, as in business, mentoring is crucial, as learning from people who have trodden the path before you and faced the same challenges is hugely empowering.
Conversations from the world of women's sports. This is Wisp Sports Radio.
Well, that concludes this episode of The Sailing Show, where we've looked at the mentoring programmes and what benefits they have both within our sport and in business and life. If you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe and share this episode if you know anyone who would benefit from listening to what any of our guests have had to say. Please continue to follow the Magenta Project on our website and social media channels, and to keep up to date on women's sport in general, not just sailing, check out Wisp Sports online and social media. Thank you very much for your time.